It's, the date is September 28th, time is 3:02. With us today, we have Alderman Tolliver, Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Warman, Alderman Warman, Alderman Bug, and myself, Alderman Franco. First item is 23-0772, approval of the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held on September 14th, 2023. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A motion by Alderman Warman. Do we have a
Second.
second? Second by Alderman Bade. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak?
No, sir, we have no registered speakers.
Thank you. Then we'll go on to the meat of the agenda. 23-0753, and an ordinance calling for a public hearing and joint review board meeting to consider the amendment of a redevelopment project area and the approval of an amended redevelopment plan and project for the City of Aurora West Farnsworth Tax Increment Financing District Number 7.
Thank you very much, Chairman Franco. Committee members, Trevor Dick, Assistant Director in the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. As Chairman Franco said, this item before you is an ordinance calling for a public hearing and a JRB, Joint Review Board meeting for the existing West Farnsworth TIF District Number 7. It's a first amendment to the redevelopment plan and project. The ordinance sets the dates for a JRB meeting on November 8th and a public hearing on December 12th. And this also calls for notices to be given in connection with those meetings. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Next one is 23-0754, an ordinance calling for a public hearing and joint review board meeting relative to the new City of Aurora Farnsworth Belter Tax and Financing District eligibility study and report and the redevelopment plan and project.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Once again, Trevor Dick, Assistant Director. This is very similar to the previous item. However, this one is more focused on the creation of the new proposed Farnsworth Belter TIF District. It also sets the same dates, a Joint Review Board meeting on November 8th, as well as a public hearing on December 12th. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman
Second.
Bay. We have a second by Alderman Warman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 23-0705, a resolution authorizing Director of Purchasing to purchase an indoor mapping solution and associated work from Motif Corporation, Alexandria, Virginia, for a total award of $161,101 with a 10% contingency.
Good afternoon. Tim Shields, GIS Manager with the IT Department. So this project is for us to start the indoor mapping of our facilities here at the City of Aurora. We have done a really good job in the GIS division of collecting the assets in the outside world. This is going to allow us to start collecting the interior of our buildings, including floor plans and the assets inside of them. One of the main drivers for this is from a public safety and public facility standpoint, to be able to get updated floor plans to know where egress and ingress are, where various assets are in there for public facilities, and then to also allow us to maintain those assets as well. So we have one central system for the city to use for the maintenance of the assets within those buildings.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderwoman Bay.
Thank you, Chairman. How frequently should we go through this process? Like, I think I read somewhere in the document, it was, last time it was done was 70 years ago?
So that's what we're going to try to establish now, is have this software application become the system of record for all of the buildings, and it would be something that's updated on an ongoing cycle through whether it's an outside consultant like we're bringing in here to do this initial data capture. But what we really want to do is empower our end users to be able to maintain the databases and the data within there so we can stay current. We would have to then identify, a program if it's something where we're saying we want to do like a 3 to 5 year re-up for everything. I think it's really going to be dependent on how many changes we're having at particular buildings within the city.
And will it be like if there are changes to any of the particular area, people can go and have that updated dynamically, or they have to wait for the next cycle?
So it would be like we're redoing the second floor council chambers right now. So once that project's done, we'll be able to take the data from there and put it directly into the database so we could have it updated, within days or weeks from project completion.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have one.
Oh,
too.
Alderman Wallen, go ahead.
This is coming from an IT novice or like that. So, like, what is this exactly doing? Is it mapping like the actual, the wiring structure and the assets itself? Like what's in that, using the chambers as an example? Is it just the wiring and mapping and everything that's being data and stored in the database? Or is it the assets in there, whether there's a desktop computer or printer and things like that?
So it can be all of that. The initial data load is going to be pretty basic with just your main structures of like the layout of the floor, the doors, cubicles, desks, things like that.
I thought it was more IT stuff, like, this outlet runs from there to here and things like, it is all that as well?
So that's what we can do as we phase out this program. It's not going to be necessarily in the initial data capture, but we'll be getting things like where the camera locations are. And then as we're becoming more mature with the software, we can add in things like where are the network locations, the card readers, build out that this outlet goes here, this network switch goes here, and have that type of awareness within the building.
And that current software has that capability?
Correct.
Or not the current software, but proposed software, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alderman Bug?
Sorry, I just want to make a point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If I
Mr.
could.
Alexander, sure.
I'll speak loudly. Just from a pure risk management standpoint, this software will allow us to have actual real-time image data of, thank you, of city assets. Why is that important? Because we're self-insured for property, for casualty. If, God forbid, a city building was wiped out, we have coverage, but at some point, you have to prove up your damages. Just like, God forbid, your house gets wiped out by a tornado, you have content insurance, but you have to prove it up with an asset inventory. So here, we're going to have virtual maps of everything that we can provide. So it's very exciting, but I think, Chris, too, aren't we obligated, isn't there a GASB asset, or there's an audit, there's some asset function that we also have to have an inventory on, correct?
Oh, correct. For fixed assets for financial reporting, assets over a certain value are reported in the financial statements and maintained and depreciated over time in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles.
So this will capture all of that and not only keep us in compliance, but keep us at the forefront so that we have it at our disposal if we ever need it.
Alderman Bug?
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of where I was going. So after Pratt, we did the business registration and then went into track it. We also said that we were going to be monitoring and capturing things for our city buildings. So
Correct.
I guess my question is, what happened between 19 and now? And did we do some of that already?
So
Does Track It not?
Track It is up and running.
Oh, yeah, I know
Business
Track It.
registration is rolling. I know that Mr. Birchall, he's not here, but Mr. Birchall has done with his team a lot of asset management with the preventative maintenance people that looked at all city buildings. And I think that's due to be refreshed in the next year or two. So I feel like we have enough data and information between that type of reporting, what this is going to bring to the table, the inventory that we maintain of all city properties and public facilities. This will just be that tool that kind of ties it together, so we don't have to we can pull this up virtually, right, Tim?
Yes.
And see any building in the city inside, go to floors, go to specific rooms. That's the mapping.
Correct.
Okay, so Track It does not have a supplement or an upgrade to capture this types of things. We have to go to a new.
My understanding is not to this level of technology.
Yeah, and this is
detail.
part of our Esri software.
Right.
So we're leveraging the existing investment that we already have with the GIS software that we purchased. And then this item here is really going to be more on the data capture side, to capture the data to go into that system of record. So we already have the software and the licensing. This will be to put it into that particular system.
And this is, we're coming up on my favorite time of year, our renewal of our insurance for the city. And our insurance carriers are looking very favorably upon this. Not a lot of communities our size are doing this. So this is a proactive, and I hopefully will continue to be looked upon positively by the carriers that we're engaging.
So can I ask a question on that? Looking favorably, does that mean a price reduction?
We're working on that.
I'm just, because favorably is rhetoric, but money is different. So I'm just wondering if that equates to that.
When I say favorably, it's not all, as much as I would love it to be financial, sometimes it is gonna help when we have a claim.
Right.
And we have to submit the details of what's in the building. They're not gonna they'll accept it because it's more accurate.
Negotiating power.
Correct.
Okay, good. You have any more questions? Any other further questions from the committee?
Not a question, but a comment.
Go ahead.
I would say coming from the risk industry, that something like this would like make me smile if I saw that the client had this. This is definitely something as an underwriter that I would leverage to possibly use as a discount, or like you said, when it comes to claims time, having that accurate inventory and things like that helps the claims process go a lot faster and it goes a long way. So just say that for the comment for sure.
Favorable.
Favorable. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Man after my own heart.
There you go. Speak the same lingo. Okay, if we had any more comments? We have a motion by Alderwoman Bay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Warman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one is 23-0736, a resolution updating all fees pertaining to Chapter 46 of the City of Aurora Code of Ordinances titled Towing Services.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sergeant Robert Hilgoth for the Traffic Division for the City of Aurora. You guys should have before you some information on some tow fees that we regulate through the city with some upcoming or suggested changes that we'd like to put in place.
All right, so I'll start out. So as I look at the proposed tow rates and storage fees, it looks like we're going to eliminate times of days, the Saturdays and holidays, and make it just a one type of fee, 175, is that how I read
That
this?
is correct, yes.
Okay. And are these fees, do we know if they're comparable to other municipalities as far as amounts?
Yes. So in preparing this, compared it to Naperville, Kane County, Oswego, and then Illinois Department of Transportation. Depending on where you go and where you look, they all have different forms and have different fees for various things. These are kind of just the basics. I'm trying to simplify this. If you look at, say, Naperville, there are countless add-ons and whatnot. So I've tried to compare it apples to apples. Numbers-wise, if you had questions or concerns or wanted to know, I brought some comparables I could go over, but we would be sitting in between a lot of these.
So would you be able to email those to us so we can have them prior to this committee of the whole meeting? Just like whatever comparables you have.
So one of the problems with the comparables, if I were just to email you a number, certain things are added on in other tows. Cleanups, oil, wrapping, windows, various, and they break those down depending on where you're looking. But for like a tow rate, basically right now, if you were to look at your basic standard tow, Naperville, Kane County, 175. That's what we would be raising ours to. Oswego is 160, but they typically mirror what we do in the past as we look to other cities. Illinois Department of Transportation is 2.25. IDOT across the board is well above everybody else.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I can get that to you. I will try to make it as clean as possible, but again, understand that there's variables
Yeah, I think, yes, I think the variables, I think for our purposes, I think a standard amount, so we just have an idea, because we don't
Yeah.
really care if we're gonna nickel and dime, but we just wanna know if we're in the ballpark, high, low, and the whole thing. It just gives us more of a perception of how we compare, because I know there's people that think it may be low, some people may be high, but when you look at other municipalities who have to go through the same amount of expenses that we do to incur all these, if it's similar, then I think we're in the, I just wanna make sure.
Oh, yeah, no, not a problem.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Any other questions? Alderman Warner?
So and this is just our standard rate, there's no oil cleanup fee, no window cleanup fee, so ours is,
There are, but there's no changes to those.
oh, okay, so we do have those, they're just no change.
Correct.
Okay.
Alderman Donnell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the fourth ward recently, some semi-trailers were towed. They don't appear on this list. Is that a fixed cost? Or
That would come, because of the gross vehicle weight, that would be the standard for whatever the tow company charges.
I think it was expensive.
They are very expensive.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman
Second.
Bug, do we have a second?
Second?
Second by Alderman Warman, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 23-0741, a resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant award of $10,000 from the Hartford to support fire safety education efforts and programming.
Good afternoon, Fire Marshal Teams, Christopher Teams with the Aurora Fire Department. Earlier this year, the Hartford Insurance Company published their third annual Home Fire Index, which is ranking the top 150 communities that have the highest home risk of fires. We ranked 97th out of that 150. So they awarded us a grant that was written by our grant department for $10,000 to be used for supporting educational efforts and programming. This grant can be customized to our individual needs in the Fire Prevention Bureau, not limited to just fire safety awareness and education, but we can also use it for communities and local school programs, different equipment that we can get out new trainers with. For instance, the fire extinguisher training for communities and schools. So that's what we're looking for, is to just accept this grant so that we can move forward with fire safety awareness.
Do we have a program right now that for fire safety, or this will be something new because we have a grant?
We do have a fire safety program. Typically, it comes out of our budget to purchase materials, coloring books, that type of stuff that we give out during the month of October for Fire Prevention Month. So we do have that comes out of our budget. This would be an additional $10,000 that we have a year to spend, and then we just have to document and show Hartford what we're using it for.
So we have a blueprint in place, this is just helping us with the cost.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments from the committee?
Motion to approve.
A motion by Alderwoman Bade, second by
Second.
Alderman Warman, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 23-0749, a resolution ratifying payment to the Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau in the amount of $175,000 from the hotel operator's occupation tax for the 2023 year.
Good afternoon, Alex Alexandru, Chief Management Officer. The item before you is ratifying payment to the Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau for the 2023 year. As background, you can see we've had a long and productive and positive relationship with the AACVB since 1987. In 2015, there were significant changes undertaken to the agreement. There were shorter renewal terms, went down from 5 to 2 years. The 2020 agreement, we opted at that time for a 3-year cycle. The agreement expired at the end of 2022. We're continue to expend 2023 payments. We would like to do this in a 2-step process. First and foremost, to ratify the payments, and we've had several productive meetings with Chairman Donnell, as well as Court Carlson, the executive director who is here, And so we are working on bringing back to the council a new agreement. We're still figuring out the exact term, if it's going to be another 3-year term or go to a 5-year term. We're also taking a fresh look at the allocation out of the hotel motel tax that the city has provided. So it's been at $175,000 for a number of years. And so court has provided and will continue to provide some additional data and evidence on the effectiveness of the Convention Visitors Bureau, the participation of the city, and when I say effectiveness, meaning what is Aurora getting back for its investment in the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I can tell you that there have been significant strides made, and I was for a while on the board, but given my workload, I stepped off. But we have Tony Martinez as well as Mike Nelson on the board, in addition to Chairman Donnell, your colleague, doing a great job heading up the board. There has been significant, and the data and evidence provides that, and I think our thought was we were going to put together a more robust presentation of that to go along with the new agreement, but certainly Alderman Donnell and Court is here, can, if needed today. But in the administration's opinion, there is tremendous value in partnering with the Convention Visitors Bureau. Even last night, for example, the Bureau hosted at the Meyer Ballroom the new director of, I have his card, the new director of tourism for the state. He personally came. There was a cross-section of folks invited from different businesses and industries. The city was represented last night, and it was a great presentation and Q&A. And they're really doing a listening tour. And it was very heartening to hear from a cross-section of businesses how well the Visitors Bureau represents the entire region, because as you know, there are multiple towns. We are the largest of those towns that participate. And so I feel like the feedback was well received, and a lot of folks commented about how the Convention and Visitors Bureau, along with our other partners, help to draw and attract people to the downtown, to support our restaurants, support our cultural attractions, and not just the downtown, but the entire region. So there were some really good comments made last night from the time I was there, and then we're hoping that in our agreement, we'll be able to get to perhaps an increased number to assist the board going forward. You know, we have the casino that's going to join the outlet mall. In that new district up there, we have plans for the River North District, which is retail, entertainment, and residential. So the city believes, or the administration believes, we have attraction opportunities here already, but then more coming, and we're going to look to the Convention Visitors Bureau to be a valued partner to help us with those endeavors. So this is more of a housekeeping situation to get the ratification done, and then from there we'll bring forward, and we're currently drafting a new agreement to bring to the council before the end of the year.
Questions or comments from committee? Alex, I have some, and maybe more for Mr. Minnick. I've been reading this, and I want to make sure I got some of the numbers right. It's about the math. We pay $175,000 for our share to the AC Aurora Convention Bureau. Is that supposed to be 80% of the proceeds of all the hotel taxes go to that? Because I don't know if if those two are equating. Because I would think that $175,000 would be a lot less than 80% of what we get from hotel tax. So I'm just asking, am I wrong with that?
Go ahead and break it down, Chris.
No, you're correct, Alderman Franco. The city actually takes in approximately $500,000 a year in hotel motel taxes. So 90% of 500,000 is, I believe, $450,000. But the agreement that was entered into some time ago does specify it's 90% of the take to a maximum of 175,000.
Okay, so there's a cap, there's a ceiling.
There's a cap on.
And that was made during the, I believe, Wisner administration. That's how it was set up in the, I want to say it was in perhaps the 2015 agreement, and that was approved by council, and that has not changed since then. So what we're looking at is that same formula, but obviously looking at changing the cap.
And then I just have one other thing, and it might be nitpicking, I don't know if this is just verbiage. In one of the paragraphs on the first page, the legislative page, it said something about, over the course of the extensions, the number of participating municipalities has increased, and the amount of hotel, motel tax proceeds conveyed to the AACVB increased from 80% to 90%. So my question is, does the total number change? Because the percentages are the percentages. So I don't know how you go from 80% to 90%, but I can see how you would go to a greater total number. So I was just kind of confused about that. How does the 80 go to 90%? It shouldn't be 80% all the time, but the number just be greater?
I don't know
Or am I
exactly
reading that
what
wrong?
data have. I'm Court Carlson, I'm the director of the Aurora area CVB, and I know since I've been here, it's been a 90% payment from the communities based on hotel motel tax collections. And since my time here, Aurora has been a cap at 175. At some point in one of the revisions, previously it had gone from 80 to 90%. Currently, the other communities all do pay 90% of their collected
Okay,
bed tax
all right.
locally.
All right, that kind of explains it, because I thought we were talking,
Price
like,
of
when you
admission.
talk about percentages, and then there's the gross amount, I thought that kind of confused, but literally going from 80 to 90%, that makes sense, I just didn't know that's.
That's the price of admission to be a member,
Okay.
and it's the 90%. But ours is just capped at the 175.
Correct. I just want to clarify that, because I was a little bit confused. All right. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Chairman, I'd make one comment.
Sure, Alderman Donnell?
So just a little bit of a background. In 2015, we had different leadership at CVB, and we really had no metrics to judge how well we were doing. And since we've hired Court and his staff, they've done a great job of creating those metrics. I've actually asked him to kind of compress them a little bit. It was so much material that sometimes you couldn't understand it, but they've done a great job, and they'll be more than willing to provide that to the council.
And I think the best example I can give is their work that their sports folks have done over the last number of years with the Jericho Sports Complex. And you may say, well, wait a minute, Alex, Jericho is not in Aurora, it's in Montgomery. But having lived in the Fifth Ward for 23 years and watching the impact, the positive impact on Aurora businesses all up and down Orchard, anytime there's tournaments, soccer, whatever, at Jericho, it's been dynamic. And the Hampton Inn full, the downtown hotel full. So one of the impetuses for some of the development we're looking in the future is centered around more places for people to stay in Aurora. So we'd love to grow the hotel motel tax through responsible development, giving folks who are, again, mostly from out of town, but we get a lot of locals who participate in tournaments there too, but mostly the out-of-towners. The goal is spend your money at Aurora restaurants, spend your money at Aurora hotels, come downtown, go to Fox Valley Mall, do all those things, but keep as much of that money in Aurora as possible. And we need the partnership. One of the partnerships that's valuable is the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thank you. I do have one comment, so.
Go ahead, Alderman Warren.
And Alex, your comment made me think of this, that speaking from Spartan Ale House, the impact that we get from tournaments and such at Jericho is unbelievable and a lot of it's out-of-towners. People that come from Minnesota every year, they come down for this tournament, they come to our restaurant. We get people coming, northern suburbs that come down, southern suburbs that come in there. So the impact that we feel on a Saturday and a Sunday is just incredible. So whoever's doing that out there, I appreciate that, and it's working well for us, for sure, so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none, no more comments, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Alderman Warren, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Bade, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0, thank you. Next item on the agenda is 23-0760, resolution authorizing the city treasurer to accept on behalf of the city a donation in the amount of $40,000 from the Huntington Foundation for the Financial Empowerment Center.
Good afternoon, Tasha Moss, Innovation and Strategy Program Manager. The item before you is a normal course of action to accept the $40K grant from Huntington Foundation. This is the second time we've applied for this grant. The first time was at $50K, and that was in October of last year. Huntington has been a staunch supporter of the Financial Empowerment Center, and upon acceptance of this grant, funds will be added to the revenue account in the Financial Empowerment Center and used to offset the expenses for the neighbor project contract with the City of Aurora. Happy to entertain any questions.
Questions or comments from the committee? Tasha, I have one question, just because you mentioned it. So last year we applied for 50,000 and got
Yes.
it?
Yes.
And this year we applied for 40,000?
Yes.
Why not 50 again? Why not
Because
roll the dice?
we thought about that, and we didn't want to appear a little too greedy, because then oftentimes the neighbor project also qualifies for these grants. So we determined between the two of the organization which one is the better to apply. And in this case, we were the best to apply, but it was less than 1 year of the fiscal cycle where they had applied us the 50K.
Okay.
So we didn't want
Wait a
to,
little bit.
give them a little bit of wiggle room. We'll be back
I
though.
agree, we gotta keep good communications and stuff with the others. They're giving us money. Okay. I was just kind of curious. You said 50,000, like, ooh, it went backwards a little bit. All right, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Bug.
Second.
Second by Alderman Warman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 23-0778, a resolution establishing a fee schedule for peddler and solicitor permits related to Chapter 32, peddlers and solicitors of the Code of Ordinances.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Stalling, City Clerk. As you may recall from Tuesday night, updates to the peddlers and solicitors ordinance were approved, and in order to implement them, one of the sections was removing the permit fees from the ordinance and putting it into a resolution format similar to what we've done with other fees. And that's it. We're not asking to change the fees at all.
Questions or comments? I have a question. So as I look at the schedule, peddler solicitor, $100 per month. Is that per badge? Like if I have 5 people, it's $300?
Everyone has to obtain their own permit, and everybody has to pay the $100 fee per person per month.
So let's just, for example, ABC Roofing goes out there, they got 6 guys, $600 going, if they're walking the streets.
Yeah, per month.
All right, and do we have a problem with people paying that amount? You know, because it's like, I'd like to have 5 people go out, but I want to pay $500, so I'm gonna pay for one and I'll have 4 other people go out, and hopefully we cross our fingers and you don't get caught. I mean,
Not that I know of,
Okay.
but, we do have companies who, they are allowed to have 10 at a time.
Okay.
And we have companies who have signed up 10 people at once. We have some people who never pick up their permit and they forfeit their money. So we get a little bit of everything, Alderman.
yeah, and the reason I bring this up, because we know that with the hailstorms, I don't know, 4 months ago, whatever, and all these people got new roofs, they were on the streets everywhere, and a lot of people didn't have them, and I'm just wondering, a variety of reasons probably why they didn't do it, but I'm wondering if one was because they didn't want to have all their people pay $100 each to go out there, and I just didn't know if that was a factor for them not complying, or, or roll the dice, we don't know exactly why, but we saw a lot of that.
I'm anticipating it. I think that it is probably a combination. I think some people may not be aware of the requirement, which I think I've said in front of other committees that I would like to do a little more community education.
Sure.
And some just maybe ignore it, maybe just don't know.
It's very kind of you.
Thank you, Alderman.
Any questions or comments, Alderwoman Bate?
Just a quick question, Jennifer. What does badge replacement cover? Like, is it if you have to get it done every month, a new badge every time you renew, or it's what?
If they lose it. So if they lose their
it.
badge and they're still valid, then they can come in and get a new badge from us for $10. But if they want to, if they pay for 1 month at a time, they have to pay the full fee every month.
And this badge has a time limit?
It does.
When they're getting it issued, they have to mention whether they want it for a year or 1 month or?
Yeah, so we are currently utilizing the Track It program, which requires them to pay online before we even generate their licenses. So they have to choose how many months they want in advance. So then we know, and we put the date, the effective date, and the expiration date on the actual permit with their photo that they're supposed to wear when they're out in town.
The badge has the date?
Badge has a date and the photo.
Okay.
The expiration date is on there, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing
Motion
none,
to approve.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Bay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Warman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Thank you. Is there anything else to come before the Finance Committee today?
Motion to
Hearing
adjourn.
none, I have a motion to adjourn by Alderman Warman, second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And we are adjourned at 3:38. Thank you.